There are mysteries so chilling, so perplexing, that they defy explanation even decades later. From mysterious disappearances to eerie encounters, these stories have left investigators baffled and the world searching for answers. In today's video, we're diving into the top 5 unsolved mysteries that remain unexplained to this day. Part 1. The Disappearance of the Sodder Children. On Christmas Eve in 1945, the Sodder family's home in Fayetteville, West Virginia, was engulfed in flames. While George and Jenny Sodder, along with 4 of their children, escaped, 5 of the Sodder children, Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny, and Betty, were never seen again. But what happened that night remains one of the most perplexing mysteries in history. When the fire was finally extinguished, no remains of the children were found in the ashes. Investigators quickly ruled the incident as a tragic accident caused by faulty wiring. But George and Jenny weren't convinced. They noticed strange details, like how the lights in the house stayed on during the fire, and the ladder that was always on the property had mysteriously disappeared. Adding to the mystery, the family began receiving strange clues. A witness claimed to see the missing children in a passing car during the fire. Later, Jenny received a photograph of a young man, allegedly her son Louis, along with a cryptic note. These clues only deepened the Sodders' belief that their children had been abducted. To this day, the disappearance of the Sodder children remains an unsolved mystery. Were they victims of a tragic accident, or was something far more sinister at play? The case continues to baffle investigators and captivate those who seek the truth. Part 2. The Diatlov Pass Incident. In February 1959, 9 young hikers from the Ural Polytechnic Institute embarked on what was supposed to be a thrilling adventure through the Ural Mountains of Soviet Russia. Led by Igor Diatlov, the group was experienced and well prepared. But days later, they were found dead in the freezing wilderness under bizarre and horrifying circumstances. To this day, the Diatlov Pass incident remains one of the most chilling mysteries in modern history. The hikers' tent was found slashed open from the inside, as if they had fled in a panic. Their bodies were scattered across the mountainside, some wearing only socks and underclothes, despite the sub-zero temperatures. But the mystery deepened when investigators discovered strange injuries, fractured skulls, broken ribs, and even a missing tongue, injuries far too severe to have been caused by hypothermia alone. Some theories suggest that an avalanche forced the hikers to flee, but the injuries didn't align with such an event. Others point to a Soviet military experiment gone wrong, with some witnesses later reporting strange lights in the sky on the night of their disappearance. And then there's the theory of something more sinister. Was it an encounter with an unknown force or something supernatural? The Diatlov Pass incident has inspired countless theories, from secret weapons tests to encounters with a Yeti or aliens. But more than 6 decades later, the truth remains elusive. What terrified the hikers so much that they fled into the deadly cold? And what caused their horrific injuries? We may never know. Part 3. The Vanishing of Flight MH370. On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 departed from Kuala Lumpur International Airport, heading to Beijing. The flight carried 239 people, including passengers and crew. Just over an hour into the flight, at 1:19 a.m., the plane sent its final communication. "Good night, Malaysian 370. Moments later, the plane disappeared from radar, leaving behind one of the greatest mysteries in aviation history. Initial investigations focused on mechanical failure, but soon, data from satellite pings revealed something strange. After losing contact, MH370 had diverted from its planned route, making a sharp turn back toward the Indian Ocean. It continued to fly for hours, covering over 2,000 miles before vanishing without a trace. This unexplained detour raised countless questions. Was it a hijacking, a deliberate act by someone on board, or was it caused by a technical malfunction? The search for MH370 became one of the largest and most expensive efforts in aviation history. Ships, planes, and advanced technology scoured the Indian Ocean, yet only a few pieces of debris, including a flaperon from the wing, were ever recovered. These fragments washed ashore on islands like Réunion, thousands of miles from the suspected crash site, deepening the mystery. As investigators delved deeper, new theories emerged. Some speculated that the pilot, Captain Zaharieh Ahmad Shah, deliberately diverted the plane in an act of suicide. Others suggested a hijacking, though no terrorist group ever claimed responsibility. Another theory pointed to hypoxia, where the crew and passengers were incapacitated due to lack of oxygen, leaving the plane to fly on autopilot until it ran out of fuel. But none of these explanations could fully account for all the evidence, or the lack of it. Even with years of analysis, the disappearance of MH370 remains unsolved. Families of the victims continue to search for answers, while aviation experts are haunted by one question: how can a modern passenger plane vanish without a trace in an age of advanced technology and global surveillance? The mystery of Flight MH370 is not just a story of a missing plane. It's a story of unanswered questions, of human loss, and of our limitations in understanding the world around us. What really happened that night? Perhaps we'll never know. Part 4. The Summerton Man. On a warm December day in 1948, a well-dressed man was found dead on Summerton Beach in southern Australia. He carried no identification, and no one knew who he was. The only clue was a small piece of paper found in his pocket with the words Tamam Shud, meaning finished or ended in Arabic. This note was torn from a famous book of poetry, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Inside the book there was more, an unusual series of numbers written on the back cover. These numbers have never been fully deciphered, adding to the enigma of the case. Many theories have emerged over the years. Some believe the man was a foreign spy. Others think he may have been the victim of a covert operation or a crime syndicate. Yet, no one has been able to prove any of these theories. Despite decades of investigation, the identity of the Summerton Man remains a mystery. His case continues to intrigue and baffle experts, leaving the public to wonder, who was he and what happened on that quiet beach? Part 5. The Zodiac Killer. Our final mystery takes us to one of the most infamous and chilling serial killers in American history, the Zodiac Killer. Operating in Northern California during the late 1960s and early 1970s, the Zodiac's killing spree left the public gripped with fear and confusion. Unlike other serial killers, the Zodiac reveled in taunting the police and the media, sending cryptic letters and mysterious ciphers that challenged both the public and investigators alike. Despite decades of extensive investigations, the killer's true identity remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in criminal history. The Zodiac's first confirmed victims were Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, who were shot on December 20th, 1968, near Vallejo, California. This brutal double homicide was only the beginning of a series of unsolved murders. The Zodiac's killing spree continued for years, with victims often being young couples in isolated areas. Despite his carefully planned attacks, the Zodiac would sometimes leave behind bizarre clues, including pieces of evidence that would eventually lead to his cryptic communications with the press. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the Zodiac's crimes were his cryptic letters, which he sent to newspapers and police. In his letters, the Zodiac would often include ciphers, some of which remain unsolved to this day. These codes were sometimes accompanied by detailed threats and boasts about his killings. One of his most infamous ciphers, known as the Z340 cipher, was sent in 1969 and remained unsolved for over 50 years, fueling public fascination and terror. The Zodiac even demanded that his ciphers be printed, threatening further violence if his demands weren't met. The Zodiac's killings were not random. He carefully selected his victims, often young couples parked in secluded areas, where he could ambush them with minimal resistance. His methods were gruesome. He would often bind and then kill his victims, sometimes stabbing them repeatedly before fleeing the scene. He sometimes approached his victims directly, as in the case of Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Ann Shepard in 1969, where he tied them up and stabbed them before leaving them to die. In this attack, the Zodiac even carved a symbol on Hartnell's car door, signing his work with his iconic symbol of a cross circle. The Zodiac's cryptic letters were not just a way to communicate with the authorities. They were also taunts. He would mock the police for their inability to catch him, and sometimes threatened to kill more people if his demands weren't met. One of his most famous letters included a chilling statement: "I like killing people because it is so much fun." These letters, combined with the lack of solid leads, created widespread panic. Despite numerous suspects over the years, no one has ever been conclusively identified as the Zodiac Killer. Over the years, many people have been suspected of being the Zodiac Killer, but no one has ever been conclusively identified. The case has remained unsolved, leaving investigators with more questions than answers. In 2020, a team of code breakers successfully decoded one of the Zodiac's ciphers, but many others remain a mystery. The Zodiac's legacy continues to haunt American history, inspiring countless documentaries, films, and books. While the killer's identity remains unknown, his cryptic letters and chilling murders have solidified his place in infamy. The Zodiac Killer may have slipped through the cracks of the law, but his terrifying legacy endures. His cryptic letters, unsolved ciphers, and brutal crimes continue to captivate and disturb. Who was the Zodiac? Why did he taunt the police and public with his codes and letters? The mystery remains unsolved, leaving only fear and fascination in its wake. These 5 stories are chilling reminders of how little we know about the world around us. Which of these mysteries do you think will be solved? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more mysterious content. Thanks for watching.